In this video, it's all about the tools that perhaps I would carry and the reasons why I would dump some of them. And welcome to bexbugoutsurvivor. In this video we're looking at the final part 4 of my survival pack here. This is all the tooling I'm going to need. The actual sustainment pouch here has already been covered in a different video, so I won't be opening all that and going through that again. This is more about the tooling. We'll talk individually about each piece in a second, see what the kit dump is going to be and what I'll be keeping. Let's talk about some of this kit in its individuality. This is only for a long-term wilderness survival situation known as the 𝒔𝒕𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒎𝒆🏐. 𝒔𝒕𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒎𝒆🏐 stands for I'm never coming home, so I need to cater as much as I can for that. The sustainment pouch itself has been covered in a different video, so I can put this into here. That just leaves the tooling. Where should we start? Things like knives, axes and saws are the cutting implements that I might need. I don't use cutting implements for firewood. I have a method that doesn't require you to cut the wood. You only kind of cut wood for a fire if that's the only method you know, where you have a circle, perhaps stones around it, and then you cut each section to 3 foot and keep piling on. It's not the most efficient use of fire, and my methods, I don't need to cut wood for a fire, but I'll show you a cutting implement. Where should we start? Your first is here. This is the big boy by Silky. Now, a little rusty, had it a while, and there will be a full review on this. Folding saw, locks into place, and then the cut is on the back pull like that. If I push forward, it's not cutting, but it's cutting on the down pull there. And then push the button, folds back up. Originally, I used to carry a big bow saw, you know, with that sort of shape, and it was really, really heavy. Everything now, I've decided, has to fit in a pouch like this. So I've chose this. And yes, there are other brands out there that people will argue that is better than this, and I'm sure perhaps it is, but it's all I have, so I've got no comparison for you there. But it's more than adequate, and that is going into my inch pack sustainment, which is, as we know, the PLCE. Another thing for cutting is an axe. I could bring a great big bushcraft axe, and people are going to say it's not big enough, it's not going to do the jobs I want. For splitting wood, this is just fine. And remember, I do have the Silky, which can cut the wood, so I can cut and split. That is more than adequate. I used to carry a big bushcraft axe, no need. This is Damascus steel. That is absolutely razor sharp. And I did a video and I couldn't release it because at the time I just took the top of my thumb off with it when I dropped it. And luckily I had my first aid kit with me and some super glue. And yeah, I just stuck it back on. It was just a little sliver off the top of my thumb. But having a hot bath, that little sliver came off, and it healed over on its own. That is more than adequate for my needs. If your needs are greater, you're going to need a greater axe. If your needs are greater for a bigger saw, then your needs are greater. The bigger your need, the bigger the tool. The bigger the tool, the heavier your pack is getting. This is already stupidly heavy. Can I do it any other way? Now, to break quite a big section of wood like that, what I could do is find a V in a tree or two trees close together, so I can use leverage then to break the wood. So I can drop the saw if I wanted. That's going to be an option. Again, splitting the wood with my little Damascus. I could just use my bushcraft knife. It's very, very doable, but you're forever sharpening your knife. As where if I choose the right tool for the job, it's less wear and tear. Yes, you can split with a knife, but personally I wouldn't. Not if you've got a different tool like that, and that is pretty lightweight. As you can see, very, very small, and can wear it on my belt. So yes, I could dump the axe and the saw. That would be a bit of weight saved. The next part of what we're talking about is digging. Why would I need to dig anything? A variety of reasons. All the reasoning is up here. I intend to probably grow my own crop of food from seed. I would like some kind of shovel like this. Now this is going to be a poor example of what I would actually carry. I could upgrade this vastly to something of greater quality, and I have two e-tools in mind, and this is just an example of the kind of weight and size. And yes, there are tri-folding army shovels which are a lot heavier, and weight is going to be a big bone of contention carrying all this extra kit that I've just zipped on to my Bergen. All my sustainment is in here. I don't want to put things on the outside of my pack or anything like that. So can I lose the weight of this? Well, I'm hoping so. I could use a digging stick. I could use a digging stick. I like the fact this has a pick. For a horticultural reason, picks are brilliant. I can actually make a little furrow to plant the seeds out, and obviously a spade is going to be absolutely vital in that role. Another digging implement is this here, and I absolutely love it. This is a little hammer come pick, and it is a beautiful little bit of tooling that's never let me down. I can dig a little furrow with that. I can dig cat holes, and this might be all I need. For horticulture, making a crop bed, I need a lot of ground, and it would be hard going with such a small tool like that, but feasible if I wanted. It just might be too small for the tasks I have up here. Again, could that be replaced for a digging stick? Of course. And if I was doing half acre and then fertilizing that ground, making furrows, planting the seedlings out, then that might be woefully inadequate, and I might opt for the e-tool. Might even opt for something entirely different like the digging stick. So yeah, I could lose the axe, the spade and the saw if I wanted. A water pump I do like, it's not very heavy. So this is similar to a bilge pump for canoes. It will draw water on the pull and the push. Its original intended function was to pump the water through a filter. Now my filter gave up the ghost in the end and I had to replace it, but I kept the pump. Now the nozzle itself isn't very long. I'm not going to get to the water that I want. It's only a section of clear tubing and it has a gauze there as your primary filter for the larger particulates. As you can see, it's not a very long nozzle. I'm going to have to shelter under this tree. The camera is not waterproof. Apologies for that. Like I said, the camera is not waterproof. Let's continue with the pump. The section here is not long enough for what I want. I want about 6 foot of this. If I'm honest, 4 foot minimum. So I'm going to nip down the hardware store, get a section of that diameter, put the filter in the other end, and now I have a decent pump. And yeah, I have had situations where I've seen water and not been able to reach it. All I want to do is pump it out and then I can filter the water. Now, a filtering kit in here, I'm not going to put in, and I'll tell you why. You can always opt to swap kit for knowledge, which is the reason I haven't put a water filtering kit in here. However, it doesn't mean you can't put a water filtering kit in here. It might be something as simple as a Millbank bag, which I could have put in here. But if you want to see the Millbank bag water filter, then yeah, it's on the channel and it's up to you to type it in and find it. In all reality, I wouldn't even bring Millbank bag, because if I have a bottle, all I have to do is stand it for half hour and then the turbid water sits at the bottom. I have the ability to boil the water, obviously, in the stainless steel bottle or stainless steel cup, which is not featured in this particular video. Those items belong with the 𝒐𝒐𝒍𝒔. These are just the add-ins to go alongside my 𝒐𝒐𝒍𝒔 complete equipment marching order. What about these here? Let's have a look at these. These are chains for my feet, my boots. And yeah, you can see I wear these a lot. They slip over your boot or your shoe. For ice, I can stay upright on very slippy surfaces. These are great in the mud, and mud can be incredibly challenging. These are tried and tested. I've put these on my boots on an incline that is very slippy, very muddy, which otherwise would be very challenging. And yes, I can just walk as normal with these on. This is not a kit dump, this is staying. The pump is so small, so light, I'm keeping it. I just need the longest section. I probably will keep the saw and the axe because they're both pretty lightweight in comparison to other options. The e-tool, I'm in two minds about. It's certainly not the best. It's only an example of what can be in such a pack. Remember, everything had the criteria of it had to fit into a PLCE side rocket pocket. So one side has other things in and the other I can zip on should it be required. That is everything I need. I'm going to leave it up to you what your kit dump would be. Now remember, I do have my bug out bag, which will have things like my stainless steel mug, my stainless steel water carry, my stove and things like that. I don't fall into the trap of being right or wrong. I find these things are personal preference. You're either going to have a preference for a certain bit of kit, you can have a preference for a brand such as the saw. There are other brands out there that might be your preference. There might be other e-tools out there, a different make, a different model, that are your preferences. But that's all they are, preferences. There are no right and wrongs. It's the idea we're looking at. A quick talk about the saw itself and why I have that in. Okay, that rain shower has passed. I've got a seat again, and we can round up with my final thoughts and the reasoning behind some of the kit. The actual saw, I want that not to cut for firewood, but to build a shelter. Remember, my basher is going to be great for the first few days or even few weeks, while I build a more permanent structure, and it's up to you what kind of permanent wood structure you want to build. I know up here what shelter I want to build. It's probably going to be quite a large wickie up, open roof and a fire pit below. Another option is eventually to change out to a rocket mass heater, and I can heat my bedding area because I'm thinking of very cold nights. Underfloor heating as well if I have a fire pit, but they are my options, and I would need a cutting implement for that. I certainly wouldn't need the saw and then cut firewood. I've never done that. This is for permanent shelter building, and I can build that without cordage. Number two, the digging implement. Even in my own mind, although I've shown it in the pack, I'm in two minds about, yes, a digging stick would be brilliant, and it would work even doing a whole acre of crops, which is far too much, an acre just for one person. So I could scale that right back, and it would be a consideration whether I'd need any digging implement at all in the pack. The chains for my feet, I'm keeping. It's lightweight, as is the water pump, but I do need to extend the nozzle. It's so small, so light, takes up not a lot of room. They're keepers. You've seen my sustainment pouch in a different video, perhaps. If you haven't, go back and watch it. That will cover things like hunting, fishing, trapping, maintaining my kit. So much in that little pouch. And I can grow my own food from seed, which is part 2. And then part 1 is also for you to watch as well. This is part 4. So I hope this has all been food for thought. And I'm going to reiterate, there is no right or wrong in what you do. It's going to be a personal preference. So you've had all my thoughts on the kit, and more than that, the reasoning behind why I have some of the things I do, and my reasoning to how I can dump some of the kit if I want. So think about that, whether you would need it in the first place versus you think you've got to have it. And I'll tell you one thing before we wrap it up. There are wants and there are needs, and they're two very different things. A need would be perhaps you feel endangered if you didn't have it. A want is different. You're in no danger at all if you didn't have it. Consider your wants versus your needs, and then base your thinking around that. I'm going to wrap it up here. This video's quite long enough. And as usual, thanks for joining me. Until next time, take care of yourself. I'll see you out there. Happy trails.